Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. The Alexander Usyk vs Rico Verhoeven full card has been released. Of course, that fight taking place May 23rd at the Pyramids of Giza in Egypt. A questionable card. It's definitely not as big as some of the ring cards is, but it's a solid card. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, I feel like people would have been very, very happy with this card. I think we've been very much spoiled over the past few years with the cards that we've seen. I think it's a solid card. There is one questionable fight. That's the Hamzah Sheeraz one. That's one that's raising a lot of eyebrows. So we're going to talk about that. First, we're going to read out the card, and then I'm going to talk about a few of the fights on it. If you all could first, head down the bottom there, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave all your thoughts in the comments below. Like I said, we've been very spoiled with some of these cards that we've seen over the past few years because some of them have been outstanding cards. Realistically, though, we're all here to see Usyk versus Verhoeven. These fights here, if they can deliver, they deliver. If not, all eyes are going to be on the main event. We're going to read out this card. Hamzah Sheeraz versus Alan Begich. That's the co-main event for the WBO super middleweight title. That's a vacant title, by the way, so we're going to talk about that. Jack Catterall versus Shakram Gersov for the WBA regular welterweight title. Frank Sanchez versus Richard Torres Jr. IBF title eliminator. Hopefully this fight we get to see finally. It was supposed to be on Fedora versus Thurman. I'd hate to see it rescheduled once again. Mizuki Haruta versus May Soliman for the ring and WBO super flyweight titles. And there's some earlier fights there as well. It's all going to be up on the screen if you want to read for yourself, because some of those names there I'd absolutely butcher. But yeah, that is the main few fights that have been added to this card. Let's start by talking about Hamzah Sheeraz and Alan Begich, because that's the one that sort of gained the most traction in talking about it. And I can see why, because much like most of you guys, for me, I didn't actually know who Alan Begich was. I found out about him a few months ago because the WBO actually came out and confirmed that this fight was going to be the one that was mandated. Hamzah Sheeraz versus Alan Begich for the vacant WBO super middleweight title. So I looked into Alan Begich a few months ago. There's not a whole lot of footage out of him online. So if you go looking for him, good luck trying to find some. I will try and properly knuckle down some when we talk about film study and stuff in the lead up to the fight. But Alan Begich, just to give you some sort of background on him, 39 years of age, German, 29 victories, 23 knockouts, and 1 draw, 0 losses. He's fought primarily in Germany and Austria and, some surrounding countries. And the people that he's fought are domestic level Eastern European fighters as well. Nobody that was really, high level, nobody that's anywhere near what Hamzah Sheeraz is. These guys are barely European level fighters. So realistically, I'm not expecting a lot from Alan Begich. I've gone and I've looked for some footage. He's a good boxer, nothing spectacular. He's not overly quick. He doesn't have overly big knockout power. He can get a stoppage, but it's not one hit power. Good rips to the body. Look, he's a solid fighter, but from the little bits that I've seen over the past few months of him, I haven't seen really anything spectacular that I think can beat Hamzah Sheeraz. The other thing is I think he's 5'11" or 5'11 and a half, so not quite 6 foot compared to the 6'3" of Hamzah Sheeraz. So that's another sort of deficit in this matchup. Look, realistically, people are going to say what they want about Hamzah Sheeraz. Hamzah Sheeraz is fighting for a vacant title that was mandated. If you're going to get angry at anybody for this matchup, the only person that you can get angry at that Hamzah Sheeraz is not versing a better opponent is Diego Pacheco. The WBO initially ordered Hamzah Sheeraz versus Diego Pacheco. That fight was supposed to go ahead, and Diego Pacheco says, I don't want that action. I don't want that heat. So we end up here with Alan Begich. Obviously, super middleweight right now is absolutely stacked. And to be honest, if there was one fight right now that I think I'd want to see out of all of them, and it might be an odd one, it's actually Carlos Adames. Carlos Adames is moving up to 168 pounds. Of course, they fought at middleweight, so I'd love to see that rematch. First fight ended in a draw, so run it back. See who actually is the better fighter. Obviously, Hamzah Sheeraz would have a much bigger advantage fighting at super middleweight than him, but the reason this is going to get a lot of sort of eyebrows raised at it, and there is context behind it, that's why I'm not really too worried about it, it's because it is a mandated fight by the WBO. The reason there's questions is because there's so many names in this division. You got Lester Martinez, you got Mbili, you got Beck the Bully, you got Usyk Iglesias, you still got Canelo going around, you've got Jakob Bank, you've got Pacheco, like I said, you've got Munguia. There's just names on top of names on top of names. Some of these guys obviously have fights scheduled or have just recently fought or are injured, and there's reasons surrounding these guys not being brought to the forefront. But yeah, I think Hamzah Sheeraz beats Alan Begich. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. Hamzah Sheeraz beats Alan Begich. It's really what he does after that. Once you are the world champion, what fight do you take that's when we start to question who you're facing and are you fighting opponents on your level. And there's so many names there for Hamzah Sheeraz to pick from. It is a shame that Diego Pacheco, for whatever reason, backed out of the fight. I think I know why he backed out of it, because I think he knows he would have lost that fight. I haven't seen anything from Diego Pacheco in the last few fights that have given me any confidence to say he can go in there and beat Diego Pacheco. You know, you actually go back 12 to 18 months ago, I'm probably more confident in Diego Pacheco's performance against Hamzah Sheeraz than I am right now. Right? 3 victories later, I'm actually more questioning Diego Pacheco because of the way that these fights have gone, you know, against Stephen Nelson, Trevor McCumbee, Sajo. Not convincing performances by Diego Pacheco, and you compare that to what Hamzah Sheeraz did to Edgar Berlanga, which is going back a year now, right? I think we overlooked that. That was a long time ago. It's probably not quite a year, but you know what I mean? It's a very long time ago since we saw Hamzah Sheeraz actually beat Edgar Berlanga. That fight went for 4 odd rounds, and Hamzah Sheeraz, I want to see 2 times a year, 3 times a year, if not. He's such a good fighter, and he looks much, much better at super middleweight. So we've got to see him fight. Alan Begej, I'm not expecting much. Look, I'm going to look into him more and try and give you guys a full insight into him in the lead up to that fight when we do the preview and prediction. But from sort of outside looking in at the facts, I'm not expecting much from Alan Begej. Jack Catterall versus Shakram Giyasov. I mean, the biggest question about this matchup is what happened to Rolly Romero. I was almost certain that WBA were going to make sure that Rolly Romero fought Giyasov. Rolly Romero wanted a heap of other fights, obviously the big money fights. But I thought the WBA were going to stand up and say, no, you've got to take on Giyasov. He's your mandatory. And for whatever reason, now we're fighting for a WBA regular title, a bit like they do in the heavyweight, where there's 2 titles. I don't like it, if I'm being honest. I'm not a fan. If Giyasov beats Jack Catterall, I don't think the WBA have any... You know what? It doesn't really matter. If Jack Catterall beats Giyasov, whoever the wins that needs to be mandated Rolly Romero. I'm not sure why Rolly Romero is getting away with not fighting a mandatory to pick his own fight. I mean, he's lucky to got the belt in the first place, never mind be able to pick who he wants to face next. So that's my biggest question from that. I think this is a very, very good fight, mind you, though. Jack Catterall, I mean, we all knew how good he was when he beat Josh Taylor, arguably twice. Then he goes on, beats Jorge Linares, beats Regis Prograis, puts in that poor performance against Arnold Barboza Jr., which was just amplified by Barboza's performance against Teofimo Lopez. Moves up a division, and I had questions. I did. We saw that fight against Harlem Eubank that went 3 rounds or whatever and then got cancelled. But I was cemented on Jack Catterall being a welterweight when I saw what he did to Echo Usman. Echo Usman will find you out if you're not a welterweighter. And Jack Catterall not only beat him, he stopped him. Round 11 stopped Echo Usman. So I'm more than confident in Jack Catterall's ability at welterweight. Giyasov, for me, we can all see the promise there. 17 victories, 10 knockouts, Olympic silver medalist in Rio. The promise is there. Uzbeki fighter. We love these Uzbeki fighters, but he hasn't actually fought anybody in professional game. All right? So I'm not overly confident that Giyasov actually beats Jack Catterall. Jack Catterall is such an accomplished fighter in professional level. I think this is going to be a very, very high level and competitive fight. And probably early doors, I am leaning towards Jack Catterall. I just think he has the experience at a professional level, which, we can see the promise that Giyasov has. But until you prove it, until you show it, for me, it's not there. And the people that Giyasov is versed aren't the level, nowhere near what Jack Catterall is. The last fight, Mizuki Hiruta versus May Soliman. This is for the ring and WBO super flyweight titles. This is a very good fight for me. May Soliman, she was determined to get on this fight card. May Soliman, if you aren't an Australian boxing fan, May Soliman, she was actually born in Cairo, I believe, raised there for a few years till she was sort of in primary school, and then she moved out to Sydney. So for her to be able to fight in front of the pyramids of Giza in Egypt would be a massive occasion for her, and amplify that by the fact that she's fighting for some world titles. But she's up against it. Mizuki Hirota is an unbelievable fighter. 10 victories, 2 knockouts. We're talking about a girl that went 4-0 last year, is the WBO champion of the world, is Ring Magazine's Women Fighter of the Year of 2025. That is a tough task for anybody. May Soliman, she's coming off probably her best victory in her career. She beat Jasmine Parr in the back end of last year. That was a round 7 TKO, and it was a good victory because May Soliman, I believe all the scorecards had her down by 3 or 4 rounds going into the 7th. So she was well behind in winning a decision, but she found a way. She stopped Jasmine Parr. Lots of you will be familiar with Jasmine Parr. If you're not familiar with Jasmine Parr, you're probably familiar with her father, which is John Wayne Parr, the legendary kickboxer. A very good win for May Soliman, and now that granted her the IBF International Super Flyweight title, and now she's got this huge opportunity to fight on the Usyk versus Verhoeven card and fight Mizuki Haruta for some world titles. So a massive fight there as well. All right, guys, that wraps up the fight card. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. I think it's a solid card. Like I said, it's nothing breathtaking. It's nothing outstanding, but it is a solid fight card. We got some great fights this weekend as well. Derek Chisora versus Deontay Wilder. Terry Harper versus Caroline Dubois / Maëlie Flores versus Ellie Scott. And it's a co-main events. There's like 2 main events on that Sky Sports card. And the first MVPW card, I believe, on Sky Sports. We also have Tim Tszyu's fight as well. So lots and lots of fights we're going to be talking about tomorrow and through the night. So make sure you've got that notification bell and like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm out of here, guys. See ya.